morning, students. In today's class, we will just go through periodic classification of elements. Actually, this periodic classification of elements, ancient time classification onwards, what about that one? Next, up to Mendeleev's classification. All these things are earlier classes only. Coming under long form of periodic table, first classification will be depending on differentiating electron entering into which cell. Total periodic classification is divided into four types. Four blocks. Those are S, P, D and F block, in which this total periodic table can be represented in this way. This block is called S block. This block is called P block. This is D and this is F. Like that, we have classified the entire periodic table into four blocks. Those are S, P, D and F. Here, differentiating electron is entering into S subshell. Differentiating electron is entering into P subshell. Differentiating electron is entering into D subshell. And here, differentiating electron is entering into F subshell. As we have known already, S can accommodate maximum 2 electrons. That's why S can be accommodated with 2 groups. P can accommodate maximum number of 6 electrons. So P can be accommodated with 6 groups. D can accommodate maximum 10 electrons. So D can be accommodated with 10 groups. F14. Actually, these are not groups, man. This first series is called lanthanides and second series is called actinides. Lanthanides, entire 14 elements are belonging to one group only. That is third group. Actinides, entire 14 elements will be belonging to one group only. Okay, but separately they kept, because these 14 elements, if you keep it in group here, it will be prolonged. That's why they kept separately. These two, lanthanides and actinides, are combinedly called as F block elements. Okay, coming under S block elements, 2 groups we have. 1, 2. P block, 6 groups we have. Those are 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Okay, D block, 10 groups we have. 3D1 to 3D10 like that. Sorry, ND1 to ND10, N-1 D1 to N-1 D10. And what about this F block? It is okay. This is just introduction regarding long form of periodic table or massless periodic table. And in this modern periodic table, what is the main constant property we have taken? Atomic number. Okay. Physical and chemical properties of elements are the periodic functions of their atomic numbers. Physical and chemical properties of the elements are the periodic functions of their atomic numbers. What is meant by that periodic functions? Periodic functions are nothing but when we take one element here, according to atomic number of that element, if we arrange that elements like this, after certain time, repetition of properties will be happened. If you consider here lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, neon. After neon, sodium is there. That sodium is resembling the properties of lithium. That's why that sodium is kept under lithium. Like that, that is repetition of properties will be happened. That repetition of properties is the term called periodicity. Periodic motion is nothing but that Bob will repeat the motion. Like it here also, lithium physical and chemical properties are repeated with sodium after certain intervals of time. Okay, that is called periodicity. Depending on periodicity, we classify the elements. That's why this chapter name itself, it is called periodic classification of elements. And total periodic table is classified into how many blocks also we have seen. Okay, the major important discussion about this chapter is periodic properties. Okay, that blocks, SP, DF blocks, after that representative elements, transition elements, D block elements, transition elements, inner transition elements. This type of names, everything by reading itself we can understand. But majorly our total discussion is related to periodic properties. Coming to what are the periodic properties, in what way those periodic properties will be varying in groups and in periods. That is our main concept. So immediately we will go through the periodic concept, periodic properties now. What are these periodic properties? When we arrange the element in the increasing order of their atomic numbers, when we arrange the elements in the increasing order of their atomic numbers, their properties are getting repeated. Physical and chemical properties are getting repeated. Those properties which are getting repeated depending on arrangement of the elements in the increasing order of their atomic number, those properties are called periodic properties. Okay, ma? What are the properties they are getting repeated when we arrange the elements in the increasing order of their atomic numbers? That is our main concept. Those properties are called periodic properties. Under these periodic properties, first main important property, that is atomic radius. First property, that is atomic radius. Atomic radius is simply defined as distance between the nucleus to the outermost shell electron present in an atom is called atomic radius. Distance from the nucleus to the outermost electron present in the atom is called atomic radius. Definition wise, easily we can define that one, but finding that or measuring the atomic radius is very difficult. Okay, and one more thing, even single atoms, some atoms like hydrogen, oxygen are very reactive. They will not be obtained in single atomic state. Then further conditions, what about the atomic radius? How we are going to calculate the atomic radius? That's why theoretically, as well as depending on the non-availability of atoms, theoretically they define three types of radius. Those three types of radius will be coming under atomic radius only. Those are covalent radius, metallic radius, and van der Waals radius. What are the three types of atomic radium? Those are covalent radius, metallic radius, and van der Waals radius. Coming to covalent radius, generally non-metal and non-metal will be involved in covalent bond. Okay, so when they are involved in bond, even though we can calculate the radius of that atom, the atom which is involved in covalent bond, by using that we can obtain the radius, that is covalent radius. Metallic radius, in metals the type of bond will be present, metallic bond. From that, if you obtain the radius, that is called metallic radius. And van der Waals radius means, depending on the van der Waals forces, these atoms will be attracted, and while they are getting collision with each other, we will find the distance between the nuclei. Okay, half of the internuclear distance is called van der Waals radius. Like that, simply I defined. I will go through what about individual one and what is the order of that covalent radius, metallic radius, and van der Waals radius also we will see. Okay, now let us see. First, covalent radius. Coming under covalent radius, let us consider one hydrogen atom, hydrogen molecule. Like this one hydrogen molecule, I imagine, okay, and the distance between these two nuclei is called bond length. Actually, these are involved those are involved in bond. The bond is nothing but covalent bond. We know the bond which is formed by sharing of electrons is called covalent bond. Okay, now distance between the two nuclei is called internuclear distance, which is also called bond length in this condition. Now half of this bond length is called atomic radius. Half of this bond length is called atomic radius, but that atom is involved in covalent bond, that's why it is called covalent radius. Okay, this is called covalent radius. Now the point is, while this one atom and another atom are going to be involved in covalent bond, overlapping of orbitals will be taken place, and more than our expectation, they will be coming closer. more than our expectation, they will be coming closer. Because of that, according to our expectation, if you think one value, lesser than that, we will get covalent radius. Because overlapping will be happened, because of the distance between nucleus and actual outermost electron will be little bit affected with decrease. Okay, then according to that, if you find, otherwise there is no other chance to find the atomic radius individually, because these atoms are not existing individually. Hydrogen, chlorine, oxygen, these are all not individual atomic state will not be present. So this is the only way. According to this, if you calculate, that is the only answer what we have to think that is correct. Okay, next. Metallic radius. Metal atoms. Metal atoms are present with metallic bond. Free electrons present in metal atoms will be spinning in opposite directions, and there is attraction between one metal atom and another metal atom. That is not pure chemical bond, that is simply weak attraction between one atom and another atom, that is called metallic bond. Okay, that metallic bond keeps the atoms little bit like this closer to each other. Okay, distance between these two nuclei, same thing, internuclear distance, and half of this internuclear distance is called radius, that is called metallic radius, because these atoms are involved in metals, that's why this is called metallic radius. Next, more than our expectation, little bit this metallic radius will be greater, because actually we have to think that atoms must be touched with each other. Exactly, we have to think that they are touching with each other. Here metallic radius, it is a weak attraction. We have according to our expectation, they won't little bit, they will be closer like this. Small gap will be present. Because of that, distance between the internuclear distance little bit increases. Automatically half of that internuclear distance also little bit more. So every time metallic radius is greater than covalent radius. Metallic radius is greater than covalent radius. Next, van der Waals radius. Some atoms which are not involved in bonding, those are inert gases. In that condition, one inert gas atom and another inert gas atom, they will be approaching with each other. Okay, they are present with which forces? Van der Waals forces. They are approaching with each other and they are going to collide. Exactly at the point of collision, we have to record the distance between nuclei, and that is called internuclear distance. Half of that internuclear distance is called van der Waals radius. But the problem is here, exact collision point, these two cannot be recorded by X-rays also. Exact collision point cannot be recorded by X-rays also. Then what we can see the alter, exactly these two atoms will come closer to each other, they will collide, and very close distance only will be recorded. We cannot record the collision. Okay, we will record the minimum distance between these two atoms. Then the minimum distance between the two atoms only can be recorded, because that much very less time, within nanosecond time, the collision will be happen and they will be reversed back. Because of that, we cannot understand the collision time. At what time the collision will be happen. Even X-rays continuously, X-ray diffraction techniques, by using that one, X-rays continuously, even though they are getting sent, okay, they cannot record the collision time. Then distance between these two atoms, minimum distance must be maintained. Then that is called this internuclear distance. Half of this internuclear distance is called van der Waals radius. That is only we are thinking that our correct value, because no other way. We cannot find by holding this one atom and what is the distance between nucleus and outermost shell. It is not possible. So this is the three types of radii. Those are covalent radius, metallic radius, and van der Waals radius. Now we can understand, I think by seeing the diagram itself, we can understand what is the order. Covalent radius is less than, metallic radius is less than van der Waals radius. Van der Waals radius is majorly considered in inert gases: helium, neon, argon, krypton, xenon, radon. Okay, in remaining all the things, maximum they are involved in covalent bonds, or they are present in elementary state. Sodium, magnesium, like that, they are present in elementary state metals. So we have used metallic radius as well as covalent radius. Okay, this is about starting point, very important periodic property, that is atomic radius. Coming under atomic radius, three types are there: covalent radius, metallic radius, and van der Waals radius. Shall we go to next one, ma? After studying these definitions, all the three types of radius, in what way this radius will be affected in period and in a group. In a periodic table, horizontal rows are called periods and vertical columns are called groups. Already we know that one. Now let us consider variation of atomic radius along periods and groups. First, along group. Lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium, cesium. These are the first group elements, in which electronic configuration of lithium is 1s2, 1s2, 2s1. It has two shells. Sodium has three shells. Next, potassium, four shells. Like that, the newly coming electron is entering into new shell. In a group from top to bottom, that newly coming electron is entering into new shell. Automatically what happened to size? Increases. So in a group from top to bottom, atomic size increases. This is very important point. Depending on these atomic radius only, next coming properties we will discuss now. Please carefully observe this one. And next coming to periods. Lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine. We can consider neon also. Okay. Now, what about this period? Atomic radius in a period. Left to right, atomic radius decreases. Left to right, atomic radius decreases. This is the reason actually why that atomic radius is getting affected. Left to right, what happened? Atomic number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. Atomic radius, atomic number increases. When atomic number is increased, number of protons in the nucleus increases. Nuclear charge increases. But that newly coming electron is entering into same shell. Newly coming electron is entering into same shell. What is the electronic configuration of lithium? 1s2, 2s1. Beryllium, 1s2, 2s2. Next, 1s2, 2s2, 2p1. The 2p is also belonging to second shell only. So, outermost shell is remained same. Outermost shell, second shell only. But number of protons are getting increased, nuclear charge increases. This nucleus will hold the outermost electrons very effectively. Because of that, they will come closer. Then, according to the nuclear charge increase, atomic size also decreases. Atomic size decreases. Okay, so left to right, in a period, what happened? Atomic size decreases. That is happened up to fluorine only. But for neon, we will consider van der Waals radius, because van der Waals radius is useful for inert gases. So, the order of atomic radius in a period: lithium is greater than beryllium, is greater than boron, is greater than carbon, greater than nitrogen, greater than oxygen, fluorine. Fluorine is less than neon. Anyways, we will not consider that much reactivity of these inert gases. So, no problem, no need to consider that one. Lithium to fluorine, what happened to atomic radius? Decreases. So remember, groups top to bottom atomic radius increases. In a period, left to right, atomic radius decreases. This is about first property. Next property. Ionization energy. What is the definition of this ionization energy? The minimum amount of energy required to remove the electron from the outermost shell of neutral isolated gaseous atom is called ionization energy. Okay. From the neutral isolated gaseous atom, if you remove the electron, that is called IE1. After applying that IE1, we will get monopositive ion, cation. Monopositive cation. From that monopositive cation, if you want to remove one more electron, second electron, that is called IE2. After applying IE2, suppose Mg plus 2 is there. First we will remove one electron. For that IE1 is required. For removing second electron, IE2 will be required. Okay, second ionization energy. Suppose if you have aluminium, from aluminium we have to remove 3 electrons. So aluminium has 3 ionization energies. Aluminium has 3 ionization energies. Here why I am mentioning these ionization energies 1, 2, 3 like that? Because there is a chance to get question in this one. Suppose let us consider sodium. Sodium electronic configuration is 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s1. Third shell contains 1 electron. We can remove that electron easily by applying IE1. So after applying IE1, that electron is removed. Then what about IE2? IE2 means we have to remove electron from 2p6. Already got the stable configuration, neon configuration. It is not at all possible to remove the electron from 2p6. Okay, because it got the neon configuration. Because of that, IE2 of sodium is very high. IE2 of sodium is very high. They will ask, among the given elements, among the given atoms, which element has very high second ionization enthalpy, or which element has very high third ionization enthalpy. Very high third ionization enthalpy will be contained by second group, because Mg+2 already is formed by applying 2 ionization energies, IE1 and IE2. IE3 when we apply, that is getting already neon configuration. We cannot remove that electron easily. This is the thing we have to remember. Now, what is the definition of ionization energy once again? The minimum amount of energy required to remove the electron from neutral isolated gaseous atom is called ionization energy. See how this ionization energy is going to affect, to be affected in groups and periods. In groups, top to bottom, what happened to size? Increases. When size increases, distance between nucleus and outermost shell electron increases. Then attraction decreases. We can remove the electron easily. So top to bottom, ionization energy decreases. Top to bottom, ionization energy decreases. Atomic size increases, ionization energy decreases. Next, this is about group 1, period. Coming to period, we have to consider left to right. Left to right in a period, what happened to atomic size? Decreases. When atomic size decreases, distance between the nucleus and outermost shell decreases. We cannot remove the electron easily. We have to supply more amount of energy. Ionization energy increases. So, ionization energy increases in a period, but with small one exception. That exception we will see now. Let us consider first period: lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine. Up to fluorine only I am considering because these are only reactive elements. Okay. Actually, according to ionization energy increases, the order must be followed as lithium is less than beryllium, beryllium is less than boron, boron is less than carbon, carbon is less than nitrogen. Up to that, okay. Nitrogen must be less than oxygen, but nitrogen will show greater ionization enthalpy when compared to oxygen, because electronic configuration of nitrogen is 1s2, 2s2, 2p3, in which outermost shell 2p is half-filled configuration. That is, 2p has total, it can accommodate 6 electrons. In that 3 electrons are filled in nitrogen. That's why it is called half-filled configuration. Half-filled configuration and full-filled configuration are more stable when compared to other configurations. From that, if you want to remove electron, we have to supply more amount of energy. Because of this, order of this period will be lithium less than beryllium, less than boron, less than carbon, less than nitrogen, greater than oxygen, and again oxygen is less than fluorine. This is the thing which is affected. And one more thing, sorry for this one. Actually, beryllium must be less than boron. Here, beryllium is also showing greater ionization enthalpy when compared to boron, because beryllium configuration is 1s2, 2s2. It has outermost completely filled configuration. Because of that, beryllium ionization enthalpy is greater than boron. Okay, in this way, in a period, actual thing is ionization energy must be increased. Ionization energy must be increased. But what is happening to the order? This is the thing. Because of exception configuration, because of exceptions, those are beryllium and nitrogen, that they got full-filled configuration, half-filled configuration. Okay, ma? This is about ionization energy and how it is going to be affected in a group and a period. Next, we will go to next property. Electron affinity. Electron affinity, it is opposite to ionization energy, in which in a neutral atom, when a neutral atom is going to attract the electron, when that electron is entering into neutral isolated gaseous atom, already present electrons will apply repulsions on that newly coming electron. Because of that, energy will be released. Now the definition is the amount of energy released in ionization energy required. Now this is amount of energy released. The amount of energy released when one electron is added to neutral isolated gaseous atom is called electron gain enthalpy or electron affinity. Electron gain enthalpy or electron affinity, both are same. Here, when that electron is getting added, what happened? Energy released. So EA1 is negative. Okay, EA1 is negative. Negative is nothing but energy is released. But coming to EA2 and EA3, those are positive values. Why? After addition of one electron, suppose let us consider formation of O minus 2. Okay, first O minus is formed. That means O neutral atom will gain one electron. At that time, energy will be released. By that, O is converted to O minus. For this O minus, we want to introduce one electron. Okay, electron contains negative charge and O minus also contains negative charge. Highly repulsions will be happen, in which that electron cannot enter into this O minus outermost shell easily. Because of that, we have to apply some work. We have to supply some energy for that electron to introduce that electron into O minus. Because of that, some amount of energy we are giving that is getting absorbed, and while the electron is getting added, some amount of energy will be released. But energy supplied by us is greater than energy released. Because of that, net amount of energy is getting absorbed. Because of that, net amount of energy is getting absorbed. When the energy is absorbed, then EA2 is equal to positive, even EA3 is also positive. Simply EA1, EA2 is only positive, then EA3 is nothing but into minus 2 charge, into negative 2 charge, we have to introduce one electron. That is more difficult. Then more amount of energy we have to require. We have to require more amount of energy to introduce that electron. According to that, it is more positive. Okay, this is the reason there is a chance to get asked. EA1 is negative and EA2 and EA3 must be positive. Okay, now what is the definition once again? The amount of energy released when one electron is added to neutral isolated gaseous atom is called electron affinity. This is about electron affinity. Now, how this electron affinity is going to be varied in a group and a period. In a group, top to bottom, what happened to atomic size? Top to bottom, what happened to atomic size? Increases. When atomic size increased, then what about electron affinity? Okay, if electron is entering into this outermost shell, nucleus and that outermost shell are very far away from each other. Because of that, less amount of energy will be released. Less amount of energy will be released. Then electron affinity will be less. Then top to bottom, what happened to electron affinity? Decreases. Top to bottom, what happened to electron affinity? Decreases. This is about variation of electron affinity in group. Coming to period. In a period, left to right, what happened to atomic size? Decreases. When atomic size decreases, this nucleus and the outermost shell are very nearer to each other. Attraction from the nucleus to outermost shell is very high. So electron, if it is entering into the outer shell, it can be held by nucleus easily. Even more amount of energy will be released. Because of that, this one has high electron affinity. Then electron affinity increases. Electron affinity increases in a period. Left to right. Left to right, electron affinity increases. Top to bottom, electron affinity decreases. That is the thing. But one small exception is there. That is observed in fluorine group, oxygen group. That is nothing but, while we are studying that p block elements, we have seen fluorine group. If you consider fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine, this group, top to bottom, what happened to size? Increases. Electron affinity must be decreased. Then we have to follow the order. F greater than Cl greater than Br greater than iodine. But actually, F is less than chlorine, chlorine is greater than bromine, greater than iodine. This is the order which is correct. No? This order is wrong. Because fluorine is very small atom in which first it is not allowing that electron to enter into the outermost shell. At least that electron is not able to come nearer to the atom. If it comes nearer to the atom, then after that repulsions, all these things we can consider. First, at least because of that very small size, and 7 electrons are present in fluorine. Okay, even same thing is happened in oxygen family also. Oxygen family, oxygen, sulfur, selenium, tellurium. Okay, ma. Oxygen is less than sulfur, greater than selenium, greater than tellurium. This is the order. So according to this, finally we can confine with, because of small size of oxygen and fluorine, their electron affinity is less than the second element present in that group. Okay, finally conclusion about this one is, highest electron affinity contained element is chlorine, not fluorine. Because left to right, electron affinity increases, top to bottom decreases. Na? Finally, actually we will expect that fluorine, but fluorine electron affinity is less than chlorine. Na? Because of that, chlorine is the element which has highest electron affinity. Chlorine is the element which has highest electron affinity. That is about electron affinity, and this is exception case. Mainly we have to remember that exception cases only. Okay, concentrate on them. Clear, ma? Next. Electronegativity. Electronegativity. If you take this property is not related to individual atom. It is related to the atom which is present in bond pair of electrons. That means involved in bond. The ability of the atom to pull the bond pair of electrons towards itself is called electronegativity. The ability of the atom to pull the bond pair of electrons towards itself is called electronegativity. Okay. This is almost like electron affinity only, but electron affinity is a particular property of individual atom, but this is the property that is capability only. It has no units. Ionization energy has units, kilocalories per mole, kilojoules per mole. Electron affinity has units, kilocalories per mole, kilojoules per mole. But electronegativity has no units because it is the capability to attract the electron pair present in the bond pair. That is called electronegativity. Okay. Now coming to variation of this electronegativity in groups. In groups, top to bottom, what happened? Atomic size increases. When atomic size increases, distance from nucleus to outermost shell increases. Then when there is an increase in distance between nucleus and outermost shell, this nucleus cannot attract the bond pair of electrons effectively. Because of that, top to bottom, what happened to electronegativity? Decreases. Top to bottom, electronegativity decreases. Next, coming to period. In a period left to right, what happened to size? Decreases. When size decreases, distance between nucleus and outermost shell decreases. Because of that, nucleus can attract the outermost electrons effectively. Because of that, electronegativity increases. Electronegativity increases. Here there are no exceptions. In fluorine group also, from top to bottom, that electronegativity decreases only. Highest electronegative element is fluorine. among total periodic table, highest electronegative element is fluorine. Here, this is not property of individual atom. Already fluorine is involved in chemical bond. Okay, that's why it has high capability, high nuclear charge and small size. It is attracting the shared pair of electrons only, which are involved in already bond. Understood, ma? Already present in bond, na? So it is the element which has highest capacity to pull the bond pair of electrons towards nucleus. Okay, because of small size and high nuclear charge. Actually, hydrogen is smaller than fluorine, but hydrogen has only one proton in the nucleus. Fluorine has 9 protons, in which it kept that fluorine is the element with highest electronegative element. Okay, that is according to Millikan scale, that is 4.0. And regarding this electronegativity, some formula they give, just we can go through once, just like a revision you can go through, no need to by heart them. But important thing is, what about the definition, how it is going to be varied in groups and periods, okay, how it is related with formula, just that formula go through. This is about electronegativity. Next. Electropositivity. This electropositivity is also like electronegativity only. Actually, it is a property of atom. Electropositivity is the property of atom. How much easily that atom can lose the electron. How much easily the atom can lose the electron. That is called electropositivity. Okay. The elements which are present on right side, except that inert gases, those are highly electronegative elements, because those are smaller in size. Smaller in size means they can attract the electrons strongly. So the highest electronegative elements will be present on right side. Electropositivity, the elements which are present bigger in size, these are present in left side, because left to right, what happened to size decreases. Okay, those can lose the electron easily. Those are highly electropositive elements. Our total periodic classification is equipped with left side high electropositive elements and right side high electronegative elements. Okay, now what is this electropositivity we have seen? How this is going to be varied in a group. Group top to bottom, what happened to size? Size increases. See, every property it is related to atomic size only. We have to be very thorough about atomic size. Okay, top to bottom, what happened to atomic size? Increases. Then which element can lose the electron easily? That is big atom. So top to bottom, atomic size increases and electropositivity also increases. This is in groups. Next, periods. In period left to right, what happened to size? Size decreases. When size decreases, which atom can lose the electron easily? Bigger atom. Slowly, when size is getting decreased, what happened to that electropositivity value? Electropositivity value decreases. So left to right, what happened to electropositivity? Decreases. Okay, ma'am. This is about variation of electropositivity in groups and periods. Next. Shielding effect we have to see. Shielding effect is nothing but when we take nucleus, these are filled with electrons. This one has 2 electrons, and outermost shell has 1 electron. Okay, now attraction of nucleus over outermost electron, attraction of nucleus over outermost electron is affected by these 2 electrons. Is affected by these 2 electrons. These 2 electrons are acting like a wall or shield between nucleus and outermost shell. between nucleus and outermost shell, these two electrons will be acting like a shield. And because of this shielding effect, nucleus cannot hold the outermost electron effectively. Okay, that effect which is shown by inner electrons between nucleus and outermost electrons is called shielding effect or screening effect. Shielding effect or screening effect. Okay, now what is the order of this shielding effect? In orbitals only we will see. According to that atom we will see, that is s orbital electrons shielding effect is greater than p orbital electrons. P orbital electrons shielding effect is greater than d. D is greater than f. When shape of the orbital is getting complicated, shielding effect also reduces. When shape of the orbital is getting complicated, actually S is little bit easy next compared to P. P is little bit easy when compared to D. Like that, complication of constructing the orbital is getting difficult. F is more fused. Okay, because of this, when complication of the orbital is getting increased, shielding effect decreases. Then S electron can affect more shielding effect when compared to P. P is greater than D and D is greater than F. Now, depending on the shielding effect, we have one property called lanthanide contraction. Already we have seen in this D and W block elements also. Now, lanthanides, these are the 14 elements which are belonging to same group. These are the 14 elements which are belonging to same group. Same group means top to bottom, what should be happen to atomic size? Increases. It should be increased with size. But what is happening? Size is getting decreased. This is happened in lanthanides because these are lanthanides which are present with already outermost electrons are present. Okay. Now newly coming electrons are entering into anti-penultimate shell. That is 4f. Already 6th shell has electrons. This is nucleus. Newly coming electrons are entering into 4f shell. They will not apply that much shielding effect. 4f, already we have seen, F cannot create that much shielding effect. Very less shielding effect will be created by F subshell. Then because of that, this nuclear charge is increased. This shielding effect is not there. This nucleus will hold the outermost electrons very strongly. Because of that outermost shell, they will be quenched. Means size of that out, they will be coming closer. Because of the size, what happened to size? Decreases in a group in lanthanides. That contraction is called lanthanide contraction. The contraction is called lanthanide contraction. This is one of the important properties to explain so many properties. Why these lanthanides have almost similar properties? Because they have almost similar sizes. That because of this lanthanide contraction, decrease in size will not be that much more. Okay, almost they are showing the similar properties. But instead of increase in size, but here what is happening? Decrease in size is happened because of poor shielding effect. This is about shielding effect, and what about the use of the shielding effect to define this one. Okay, ma? After completion of this shielding effect, what about next one? Next one is penetration power. What is meant by penetration power? Ability of electrons to be attracted by the nucleus. Ability of electrons to be attracted by the nucleus is called penetration power. This is actually completely depending on shape. When we take S orbital shape is spherical, like ball. Here nucleus is there. The electron which is present in S orbital will be present throughout the sphere. Somewhere in sphere. That means equally distributed throughout the sphere. Then this nucleus can attract this electron wherever it is present, because it is a sphere, round. Okay, so wherever that electron is present, this nucleus can attract that one. That attraction of that electron towards the nucleus is called penetration power. that penetration power will not be same for all the orbitals, because depending on shape that is getting varied. If you take p orbitals are present with the dumbbell shape. P orbitals are present with dumbbell shape, in which the electron will be present along x-axis, y-axis and z-axis only. The electrons are present along x-axis, y-axis and z-axis. If this nucleus is present here, and while these orbitals are revolving like this, if in between the axis one point is coming towards this nucleus, then this nucleus cannot attract that electron easily. That means that penetration power in that condition, it is getting affected. Because of that, penetration power is nothing but ability of the electron to be attracted by the nucleus. Okay, coming to this point, it is depending on shape of the orbital. It is depending on shape of the orbital. S orbital has high penetration power when compared to P, because electrons present in P will be present along x-axis, y-axis and z-axis, along particular axis. Then probability of that electron to be attracted by the nucleus will be little bit decreased when compared to S, because in S, throughout the sphere, not only x, y and z axis, throughout the sphere electron will be present. That is the difference. So penetration power of S is greater than P, is greater than D, is greater than F. This is the order of penetration power. Depending on this penetration power, what about the strength of hybridized orbitals sp3, sp2, sp? We have seen when s character increases, penetration power also increases, because of that bond strength increases, like that we have seen. This is about penetration power. Okay, next. Some just main properties are completed, all those are. And regarding previous classifications, just you can go through what are the names of the groups and what are the blocks. All these things once if you read, you will understand easily. And main properties and their variation of those properties in groups and periods we have seen. Next, what are the other properties we have? Small properties. This is periodic table. We know left side they are present with metals, right side they are present with non-metals. Easily we can say left to right. Actually we will say diagonally. This is the region strong metal. This is strong metal. This is strong non-metal. Then in this direction metallic character decreases. In this direction, metallic character decreases. In this direction, non-metal character decreases. Simple. This is simple, Here, cesium, it is a strong metal. Here, fluorine, it is a strong non-metal. From strong metal to strong non-metal, what happened to metallic character? Decreases. That's why in this region, around this region, we will get metalloids. In this region, we will get metalloids. These are all metals. Metal character decreases. Metalloids, these are all non-metals. Okay, in this way. Correctly here, fluorine is the strongest non-metal. Sorry for this, power cut was happened. Actually, only small amount of lesson is remained. That one we will see. This is about metal character and non-metal character. Left from here to here, metallic character decreases and non-metallic character increases. Okay, next. We know these are all metals. Okay, lithium, sodium, potassium. Their oxides, those are metallic oxides. Metallic oxides are in which nature? Basic in nature. Metallic oxides are basic in nature. Here non-metals are present. Non-metal oxides are in which nature? Acidic in nature. Non-metal oxides are in acidic nature. Metallic oxides are basic in nature. Then what about the basic nature and acidic nature? left to right, basic nature decreases and acidic nature increases. Like this in diagonal shape only. Basic nature decreases and acidic nature increases because non-metallic oxides are basic in nature, NaOH. That Na2O dissolved in water, Na2O dissolved in water, we will get NaOH. Like that, these are metallic oxides which are basic in nature. Non-metallic oxides are acidic in nature. Then automatically we can understand what happened to basic nature and acidic nature. Okay, this is about basic oxides and acidic oxides. Left hand side we are present with basic oxide and right hand side we are present with acidic oxide in this way. Next, coming to oxidizing property and reducing property. Now, left side lithium, sodium, potassium. These metals can lose the electron easily. When they lose the electron easily, they will undergo oxidation easily. Means they are good reducing agents. So these are all good reducing agents. Means reducing capability is high. This side, they can gain the electron easily because non-metals, they can gain the electron easily. When they gain the electron easily, they will undergo reduction. Reduction means they have good oxidizing capability. Then this one has good oxidizing property. Then left to right, what happened? Reducing character decreases and oxidizing character increases. Reducing character decreases and oxidizing character increases. These are the important points in which basic character and acidic character. Next, metal character, metallic nature and non-metallic nature. Easily we can understand. Reducing character and oxidizing character. Left to right in this diagonal shape only. What happened to reducing character? That means reducing agent. That reducing agent capability decreases and oxidizing capability increases. Left side elements, they can undergo, they can lose the electron easily. They will undergo oxidation easily. Right side elements, they will gain the electron easily and they will undergo reduction easily. Okay, these are the properties in which we have gone through everything. Coming to this one, first atomic radius, types of atomic radius. Next, ionization enthalpy, how it is varied in groups and periods. Next, electron affinity, how it is varied in groups and periods. Next, electronegativity, same as it is. Electropositivity. After that, what about shielding effect, penetration power, lanthanide contraction, okay, and what about reducing character, basic character and acidic character, reducing character and oxidizing character, metallic character and non-metallic character. In this way, how these properties are getting affected in a periodic table from left to right. And this is about brief discussion. Are you clear with this one? I think. Okay, now next thing. Diagonal relationships. This is small thing only. Diagonal relationships. Second period elements, they are showing some peculiar character in every group. Second period elements, they will show some peculiar character in every group. Suppose lithium, beryllium, lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium, beryllium, magnesium, calcium. Okay, like this third one, boron, aluminium, gallium. Just I am removing the D block elements and I am writing first, second and 13th group element. Okay, lithium is actually showing the characteristics of this group only. That is called vertical relationship. Actually it is group, totally group only. Maximum all the properties are related to this group only. But sometimes it is showing the characteristics of magnesium. This is called diagonal relationship. This is called vertical relationship. This is called diagonal relationship. Lithium will show some characteristics like very weak characteristics with magnesium. Beryllium will show weak characteristics with aluminium. Okay, instead of showing this vertical relationship, this beryllium and lithium, they are able to show diagonal relationship also. These are nothing but lithium is showing some characteristics with magnesium and beryllium is showing some characteristics with aluminium. This is called diagonal relationship. Because of this diagonal relationship also, very less number of properties are there. That is about this one is enough. Okay, next coming to oxidation number valency. Oxidation number valency, depending on the group, we have to decide. Okay, so in what way they will give the compound or in what way they will give the group number. According to the group number, we can say first group elements they will show valency 1, second group elements they will show valency 2, third group 3, fourth group 4. Okay, next fifth group 3. From there onwards valency again decreases. Sixth group 2, seventh group 1, eighth group 0. Like that, this valency will be increased up to some extent, and again there onwards it is getting decreased. Now coming to oxidation number, depending on availability of empty d orbitals. Okay, third element onwards, second element onwards. In a group, second element onwards, they can show variable oxidation states in p block elements. Not in S block elements. S block elements they will show fixed valency and oxidation number. In P block elements, second elements onwards, they will show variable oxidation numbers because availability of d orbitals will be happened. They can expand their valency. Okay, because of that variable oxidation states they will show. Chlorine can show -1, +1, +3. Also it will show chlorine. Depending on the other compound, we will decide how to calculate oxidation number. Also we have seen. Okay, just once go through that oxidation number and valencies, how they will be varied in a group. Okay, next. If they give any one element like potassium, electronic configuration of potassium is 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 4s1. 4s1. The outermost shell number is called period number. That outermost shell number is called period number, and number of electrons present in that outermost shell is called group number. So if you know any one element, okay, they asked what about the position of that element in a particular group and period. Then what we are going to do, we have to write the electronic configuration by using that group. Okay, even if you don't know the element correctly, by using that group numbers, groups from top to bottom elements, next element, what is the electron configuration we can expect. According to that, write that electronic configuration and outermost shell number. In what shell that outermost electrons are present, that is called period number, and in that outermost shell how many electrons are present, that is called group number. In this way we can understand how to do the MCQs, and depending on this ionization enthalpy, electronegativity values, all these things they will ask. Once go through the material, and if you have any doubts, actually these are not problematic things. Okay, if you have any doubts through WhatsApp you can send to me and I will clarify the doubts and I will send to you. This is about today's class. Once go through this total chapter and what is the important point already I discussed in this class, mainly concentrate on those points and you have to prepare in that way. Okay ma, thank you, have a nice day all.